I believe that enjoying gardening also means enjoying the challenges that come along with it. Guten Yardening, everybody! In this episode of our Why We Garden series, we want to focus in on the challenge of gardening, which is something that I think makes it such an enjoyable and rewarding experience. Now, my day job is as a teacher, and I think one of the most valuable skills that we teach students, regardless of their age, is this idea of resiliency. And you can't really have resiliency unless you understand that that means overcoming the challenges that are put in front of you. And one of the things that I try to explain to my students, and believe me, no matter how old you are, this is a hard concept to fully understand, but that is that we need to find a way to appreciate our challenges and even to enjoy when we're inside of a challenge, enjoy that process. Because when we can change our perspective and view a challenge as what it really is, which is an opportunity to learn, that's when we find ourselves growing and pushing ourselves to be better at whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. Now, a term that people often talk about when it comes to challenges and facing those challenges is a term called growth mindset. And the difference between a person who dwells in that area of growth mindset and somebody who has a fixed mindset is that the fixed mindset person believes that they have a certain level of ability that's not really mobile, that doesn't really shift or change. Whereas a person who has a more growth mindset mentality is someone who sees the potential that they have in learning what they don't already know. When you see a challenge in front of you, and I'm going to focus in on gardening now because that's really the focus of this video. When you see a gardening challenge in front of you and you don't know a workaround, you don't know a way around that challenge, the easiest response to that is to give up or to do nothing. I think that's probably our default response. But a person with a growth mindset who embraces challenges as much as they can is going to look at the challenge and not give up and work to find some sort of way or means to overcome that barrier. And quite frankly, I think that's one of the things that makes gardening so mentally stimulating, because we're always coming up against challenges. And so that means that we always have to be on our toes, always have to be on our A game, trying to find a means toward better production or toward whatever that challenge puts our way, toward finding a way through that barrier. Now, on one of our sweet potato harvests from this past summer, a commenter recently said that I seem to be very positive. And I think that was in response to the fact that that particular harvest was pretty much decimated by voles. We had a huge problem, but the way I tried to talk about it, and certainly the way I tried to think about that harvest, was more in, well, this is a challenge, what can I learn from this, and what can we do better next time? Now, it would be a lie for me to say that I wasn't disappointed as I pulled up these greens and there was nothing attached to them. But what I tried to do is to present a perspective that saw the challenge and saw the need for a change in the challenge, but also saw the future potential there for success. That is what I'm talking about when I say that gardening is producing challenges for us that we have to then move past or find a way around. I was just on the phone the other day with one of our good friends, Robert at Turf Therapy. And if you've never seen Turf Therapy's channel, you really should go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. But Robert and I were talking, and he has moved from where he was here in the US overseas, and so what he has now is growing in a new country and a different growing zone. And so he's having to learn different methods or relearn different ways to approach a lot of what he already grew. And during that conversation, one of the things we talked about was a particular vegetable that he is interested in growing. One that is giving him a hard time when it comes to germination. In fact, he's been trying quite a bit, and now he has some ideas as to what he's going to do next, some next steps there to keep that growing. But that's a challenge for him, and I guarantee you, if you've been gardening for any length of time, you've probably had something similar. In fact, go ahead and leave a note in the description. Let us know a vegetable that you struggle to grow. Well, that's a challenge. That's a barrier that Rob's facing right now, and he's not giving up. He's got ideas. He's got them listed down. These are what I'm going to do. These are the different things I'm going to try. I'm going to make germination happen. I want that vegetable. That's the mindset that gardeners have. They see these areas where something isn't growing for them, or maybe they're not getting the production they want. That's a challenge headed their way. And what do? They find their way around it. When you talk about resiliency, I'm not sure that there are people out there more resilient, or even, I would say, more creative in many cases than our gardeners when they're faced with a challenge. I would argue that problem solving is a constant aspect of gardening. Depending on the type of growing situation you have, that creativity is necessary in many cases. We grow on a very small piece of land, and so one of our challenges is, how do we maximize our growing potential? That's a piece that we've talked about with goal setting and other videos, but that's a challenge. And so what the result of that is such a variety of methods of growing that we're constantly finding new ways, new areas of interest to try to change or manipulate our space. We're overcoming challenges in that way. And of course, there are so many other challenges that in many cases are beyond our control. Dry seasons, wet seasons, excessive wind. And so when we see those coming our way, we have to find methods of control to the best of our ability so that we can overcome what we know is coming our way. We grow in Zone 5, Wisconsin. We have cold winters. That's a challenge that perhaps places in Zone 9 or Zone 10 don't face. You know what they do face? Fire ants, incredibly hot summers. These are all pieces that we get to overcome. But isn't this where that mental stimulation really comes into play, and that opportunity to seize those challenges and to grow exists? I'll give you another example. Last season, we grew red, white, and blue potatoes in our green stalk vertical garden. It's a wonderful setup for us, and we did pretty well with the first attempt at growing potatoes. But once the stems on those potato plants grew out, we knew that we had to find a way to support them, or if we had any kind of windstorm, and believe me, we get some pretty good windstorms here, we knew they wouldn't last. And so using some skewers, some bamboo skewers, and some thin wire, we found a way to support those stems so that they wouldn't break. That was an example of a challenge we faced and we overcame, because we were able to see it for what it was, an opportunity to try something new and to still make what we had a DIY way to achieve our end goal of a good potato harvest. And I guess it all comes back to us here as gardeners, to our main challenge, one that we've talked about in previous videos, one that we restarted again this year, and that's our Grow 365 challenge. Our challenge to ourselves to not let a single day go by that we weren't growing our own fruits and vegetables. And for us, again, in Zone 5, that means finding a way to use our indoor space like we are right now to grow as many vegetables as we can, to keep that process going when the weather outside is 10, 15 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. And so again, that's an opportunity for us to use what we have up here to view the perspective, view the challenge, view the problem, and move beyond it and find creative ways to solve those problems. There are so many reasons to love and to enjoy the process of gardening, and we've talked about a few of them so far in our other videos, but this idea of getting a challenge in front of you and working through it has to be one of our absolute favorites. If you are brand new to gardening, or even if you've been gardening for a few years, today I'm going to challenge you to do one thing, and that is look at one of the challenges that you've had, one of the problems that you've faced in your garden. Focus in on that one and make that one of your goals this season. a way to beat that challenge, to break through that challenge, and find success in that area as a gardener. And most importantly with this, don't let that challenge beat you. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.